All the way from Premier Hotel, another episode of On the Table with me, Tsepi.
No, your church girl.
Just an introduction. Yo hona le momo o re rasetsang Momo Premier Hotel. Mara re tla reng?
And a politician.
Re tla reng ke hae, no? Ghosty's in the episode as well.
Yeah.
Ladies, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Let's talk about grief, loss. COVID-19 has taken a lot from us, has taken a lot from our families, work, relationships, etc.
Alcohol.
A lot of things.
Alcohol.
Ujwa.
We're craving alcohol.
Let's talk about the effects of loss now in the times of COVID. We're living in times where there's a lot of anxiety. Mara mesh motho ka o khone bua le motho motho ra record. A ola ba ka reng.
The election di tlo cancel anyway. It's
Mesh, tlola ngere mesh ay yo why I am
there's a
close.
tender.
What did tsheba? Go because ke bona re wa tshaba. It's okay, babe. Mesh is gentle like
Yes,
so that's why I
yes,
sa khone
I
ho lo botsa.
represent indoda yomxhosa yosimela. Umesh uyikile guys.
Ah, let's go bontsha mesh wa ka yo le ka motse.
Igwala umesh.
Let's talk yeah, so as we're talking about the effects of loss, right? And how it has played part more so in COVID-19, more so in this pandemic, we've lost a lot of things. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have lost their relationships. A lot of people have lost their family members. Do you guys, have you both, or all three of us, in fact, including Ghosty, have we experienced anything in terms of loss in close proximity?
So not during COVID. I won't lie and say I've experienced anything during COVID, but I've lost 2 friends. And one was recent as April.
This year.
As
This
in
year.
death or loss?
Death.
Okay.
Death. So I think for me, this particular topic, it touches a very sore point in the sense that I haven't really grasped how to deal with grief. I've discovered that I have a lot of unresolved issues regarding losing a loved one. You know, so the one friend that I lost late 2018, she was a really close friend of mine. Her death hit me really hard because it was also sudden, as well as this one actually. But I think I went through such a dark phase during her death that I found myself questioning quite a lot of things about myself, questioning
What were you questioning about yourself?
Do I really understand what death means? Do I really understand that I will never really be able to see this person again or speak to this person again? And growing up as a Christian and believing that there is a God, and not just a God, but a God that comforts. You know, when there's a popular verse that people like to share when somebody has lost someone, they say, God is close to those who are brokenhearted. I couldn't feel it. It just cut a little bit too deep for me.
Yeah.
I think it's only recent that I'm actually able to speak about her death without crying. So
That's progress. That's levels of healing. But they also say that with healing, right, it's not like you get used to it. It's
Yeah.
just you learn to live with it.
yeah, you
Do
learn
feel
to
that's
live.
happened with
Yeah,
you?
you definitely learn to live with the pain because a lot of things remind you of that person, especially if the person was in your everyday life, right? And for me, it was someone that I went to church with. It was my friend, so we would go to church together. We sat together, you know. So going to church for me was now a challenge. And it was my happy place. It was her happy place. But if I'm at church and we're singing, I hear her. Literally, you know. And so it's been quite a journey. And then losing this one, I just shut it off. I haven't dealt with that loss. I heard she died and I was like, this is not happening. I'm not watching her virtual service. I haven't watched it to this day. I'm not there. I'm dizzy.
Is that perhaps not your form of grieving? Because we grieve, sorry, in different
differently.
manners or in different ways. And I know that we've all lost someone in our families, right? We've all lost someone, be it a friend, be it, a family member. And grief strikes us in different ways.
Yeah.
And it finds us at different times. I know if you've seen, who was it? There was someone who's tweeting and was saying it hits you. 1 minute you're fine. The next
Yeah.
minute you're walking on the grocery store, on the
Yeah.
aisle,
Yeah.
and you're breaking down.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like wouldn't we call that your own way of grieving?
I don't know. I honestly
she's
don't know
not
how to
even-
make a sense of it.
She's probably not dealt with it. Sometimes we can say it's her form of grieving, only to find out that she hasn't dealt with it. I'll tell you why I say so. Ne? Although I haven't lost a loved one or a friend or anyone close to me during COVID times,
You
ne?
are blessed.
Lucky enough, I'm blessed. Ne? However, I had lost a mother, and she died in my hands when she died, and I didn't deal with it until a year later. And when it came, I was sitting in the bathtub. I just cried a year later. So that's why I'm saying, at that time, I was thinking, nah, I'm okay. Kisha, man. Kisha, yeah, she's dead. What can I do? Kibo we keep it moving. Until one day, the memory just comes. Douche. What the fuck did I just go through? That's when I started dealing with it. Imagine living through a whole year, not realizing Uri, you are going through something in your mind,
Yeah.
which is probably not healthy because you packed it somewhere there.
And you didn't park it intentionally.
And you didn't pack it intentionally. The
thought
whole
you
time you
dealt
were
with it.
thinking,
You thought you were
I've dealt with
okay.
it. Kanti next. So imagine now during COVID,
Yeah.
where people are losing jobs, like you said, friends, houses.
Yeah.
Yo, imagine losing a house right now. Businesses, looting, like shit went down.
Yeah.
And there's people that haven't dealt with it. There's people that died during the looting
You have
season.
lost in terms of your business because of looting.
yeah,
Yes,
So that's
yes.
a form of loss as well.
Guys, wanya tsotse, you're like,
Ba re
guys,
loota ga
Yeah.
nyanyi.
But we recover.
We shall recover. We shall recover.
So here's my thing about dealing with grief, right? We can sit and you say, you have not dealt, or I did not deal. What is dealing? How do you know you've dealt? And we can't only isolate it to having seen a psychologist as you
No.
dealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
it's
you having
not-
crying, because I remember I also have lost a mother, and in the time, haola, skalla, utlokula.
I
And that's
hate
how we're
those at the
taught how
funeral.
to grieve as
Black people.
I feel like we're not taught how to grieve as black people, because they say uskalla utlo yet
Or
uskalla
illa, otherwise utlo kula.
or uskalla akasetse ka khotso.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
you're
so you
holding
almost
them
get
back.
manipulated
Guys.
into this system of
Accepting.
not grieving,
Yeah.
that you're expected to get up and go. And being in your emotions, understanding them, feeling them is so important.
My thing about knowing the difference between dealing with it and grieving, it took me time, but identifying what you're feeling when you think of that person or when you think of that situation, it's a form of getting yourself towards the grieving process. Identifying. For me, like I said, I was sitting in the bathtub, I started crying. Then I wondered,
Why? Okay.
why are you crying? That's when it hit me. Oh shit, you're never gonna see her again. You're never gonna have the conversations.
Were you thinking
The
about
last
her when you were in the bath?
I was thinking about her because she died before I graduated, and something just reminded me of the
Reminded
last
you of her,
conversation
yeah.
we had. And the last conversation we had, she was like, "So Wanaka, I'm never gonna see your children." And I was like, I was like, I told me, like, oh yeah, me. And it didn't register that she was saying goodbye. She was healthy. Like, if it was COVID times, I would have said, maybe Natsuriki COVID, and she didn't know. Because she literally woke up in the morning, had her breakfast, got up from her chair, fell, and went, and she fell, she hit her head, and then me and my little sister were arguing. Give her water, and I'm trying to wake her up. Mama.
Yeah.
And then she woke up and sat up like me, and she's like, "Ngwanaka kopa le ntlogeleng." And that was it.
Hectic.
Do you feel like also with going for counseling, or I mean, I suppose you didn't go for counseling in this case.
I didn't.
Do you feel like it would have been important to go for counseling and outside of losing a parent, but being there
Definitely.
when she died? And you said she died in your hands. There is a sort of trauma that comes with that.
blind.
And we don't deal with that. And none of our parents, our families, our grandmothers, Borakhadi, are teaching us or even know how to deal with that. There's a certain level of trauma, a certain
That
level
comes
of
with it.
trauma that comes with that. Have you sort of pursued that in that sense?
Personally, because I'm a very spiritual person, and when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about Christianity or any religion. I'm
Amados.
very in touch with myself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I'm spiritual in that sense. Like I said, remember in the previous episode I mentioned that we studied psychology, whatever. It helped me sort of take care of my mental health. So being able to identify what I was feeling, I was sort of giving myself that form of counseling.
Yeah.
Looking at my grandmother, who I had to call and tell, in fact, your daughter just died. And she was like, what? Remember, also they were working in the same place. So they said their goodbyes, Khamonati. And now I'm giving you a call a day later to say, she's gone. You know, so being a spiritual person for me helped me to be able to deal with it. Being able to identify, I don't want to feel like this. Right now I feel sad. I don't want to feel sad. Although it's okay to feel sad about a situation like this, I don't want to stay there. I allow myself to feel what I'm feeling at that moment, and then I move on. And also it gave me some form of resilience.
Okay.
There's a resilience that comes with loss. Only if you allow yourself to get out of that.
Elaborate with the resilience for me.
I don't think I've ever been touched like that in my life.
Okay, so the worst that could happen happened.
The worst that could happen happened. I don't think. Okay, there's two things, but that's one of the worst.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst things that could ever happen to any human being.
Can I ask a question? For instance, like people who are dealing with grief or loss, how do the ones who are surrounding or just who are by their side, how do they help them? What should they do?
Blacks does help you. The blacks, they don't help you.
But the modern blacks do. The clever blacks.
Modern, but remember that at that instant moment when your mom passes away, the first people to get there are most likely the grandparents,
Family, the elders.
guys.
So for me, my mom's house is in Soweto, Go White City, ne?
Jibavu.
Jibavu. And she lived right across her aunt. The houses were opposite each other.
Yeah,
She was literally the first person
to get there.
I asked my sister. Remember, I was with my sister in the house. I was like, go get help while I stay with my mom. At that time, when she runs off, she was still alive. When she runs off to go get help, my mom is laying on the floor. She goes, and I'm thinking she's going to say khumotso. So I give her like a small clap. Mama, wake up, ke khumotso. And then she goes quiet. I look at her. I look at her hands. They turned blue. Hey! I'm 21 at the time.
Yeah.
And then I put my head on her chest. I hear no heartbeat, no pulse, no nothing. I open her mouth because I'm thinking maybe I should give her mouth to mouth.
Yeah.
Not anything snacks, like mouth to mouth.
Yeah,
to bring her,
yeah.
you know. The tongue is turning blue. I'm like, what is happening here? And then I open her eyes, her pupils are gone. It's like, okay, this is done. I close her eyes. I keep quiet. I wait for the aunt to come. The aunt comes. The first thing she says, she does exactly what Seppi says they do. They don't prepare you. She looks at her and she says, right. And then I'm sitting on the bed. I'm like, this woman, I can tell that this person is gone. Like, I can tell.
I think as a black people, Nje, there's a certain mood that we need to progress. And we always speak about progressing in other aspects, but we never speak about progressing in how we deal with other serious matters that we face with, like the death of a loved one and somebody dying in your arms. Because the first thing that comes to your head is, hayi ungakhali uzaba right, or like it's almost like they're saying like just get over it, she's dead. If you start crying, she's not going to rest easy, and it's just going to bring a whole lot of bad luck. And I'm smiling when you're speaking because I've had the same experience. My mother's not dead, but my grandfather died in my arms as well.
Yeah.
But he had cancer, yabo. But the resilience I can in the sense that at that moment for me at that moment was, this is not the time for you to break to break down. This is the time for you to get your head straight.
Yeah.
Because your granny just lost a partner. So she should be breaking down and you should be taking care of her.
Then can I then put it to you then, this coping mechanism that I'm talking about, that we're talking about when it comes to black people, is that not what it is? How they can't sit and grieve with you, as you say.
Yeah.
You know, there's a certain level of grieving that they will do, sure.
Yeah.
But things have to go on. And when I say have to go
show
on,
must
the
go on.
funeral needs to be arranged.
Yeah.
You know, and having your aunt break down every 2 seconds, is that going to help you? Is that not probably their way or our way? Because I'm counting myself in the black people realm here. Is
The blacks.
is that not a way of a coping mechanism? Because as you say, and I know, like experiences of myself, I've experienced loss. Young age, old age. I've seen my mother, who was also very much okay. She was in fact going to the gym and she zoned out and died. Right? So, well, not I suppose zoned out. I suppose she got time to go to the ICU and she was there for about 4 days and then, you know, she died.
okay.
But initially she
But it was
she had
sudden,
zoned out and died. And I think of myself, luckily I was young, and I say luckily because I don't think my trauma and my grief, or I'm not going to say my trauma because I wasn't there, let me say my grieving would have been as much easier now at the age that I was than at your age. Had you been
Definitely.
21, I would have been mortified, and I can imagine it
But
would have
that's
been
the
the
thing,
same
you
thing
don't
for
know.
you.
I think
I think loss now would be much different for me than it was when I was 13. 13, I moved right along. I went back to school. I was, knew that my mom had died, mistakenly would call my dad mom.
Yes.
And, it's as simple as that. For you, especially at the ages that we're at, or even at 21, you're more in touch with reality. You've created so much more memories.
Yeah.
And there's so much more trauma that comes with the loss. Because especially for you, it's sudden. 1 minute, motuaja, next thing she's
gone.
out.
Yeah.
So the coping mechanism that I'm mentioning about Borakgadi ba rona, of course they've been alive much longer. They've lost so many people.
Yeah.
So the getting up and moving and getting things done is their way of grieving. Is that wrong?
It's
I
what
don't-
we're used to.
Yeah, I
sorry,
don't think
because
it's- okay.
sorry, Nolu. It's what we're used to. We're used to the drill. Like for instance, like we've got a mattress.
Yeah.
Certain people have to get into. Okay, there's a certain dress code that has to happen.
Yeah.
And with the culture of black people, how we would maybe you only bury on Saturday, waiting for the weekend and
Yes,
stretching
yes.
it, waiting. It's the whole procedures. Like people come in, we feed them tea and cookies. Bayafika, bayathandaza, back and forth. And now taking it back to even COVID, where those things have been taken away. So that's another element where we were used to a certain procedure, even
yes.
for our elders.
The
who
memorial
knew the memorial services done our way, not your English style memorial services.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of elements that have just came in, especially when we're talking about what the pandemic has brought.
So COVID has taken, in fact, away from us as a black people, ubuntu. Because in how we show up when somebody has died is
presence.
Yes. It's me bringing tea so that I know when your visitors come, there's
Yes.
tea. It's knowing that Utepi is not home alone. There's guaranteed to be at least 5 people.
It's going to be a full house.
Yeah, bo?
Okay. I love that you brought that up. And now I'm asking in the relevance of where we are now. Now we're seeing moments or times where we cannot again.
Yeah.
Ho
Yeah.
tshedisa,
I
example, if
can't.
motho hlokahetse ka Wednesday, re ka se boloke ka Saturday akere?
Yeah.
So we'll have to boloka the following week, which means every person every time is coming in the house. But what does that also mean? That means that's money from
Our
us
pocket.
who are grieving.
That's
That
another
means
problem.
kiri tiye, kiri phofu, kiri jo, kiri
Kuku plus
kiri
ladirata.
kuku, kiri all these
Guys,
things.
can we stop with the food? Ne?
Wait, before we
I
get
must
there.
say again.
Before
No,
we
I'm
get
putting
there.
out a
So
request.
xa uthi ubuntu. I then say, how much more of ubuntu did we really need? Because now we're looking now and we're saying we really were taking food out of people who were grieving and money out of people who were grieving for the sake of ubuntu.
You're adding more loss.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, it's not by choice, but here we are. Did we really need that part where there's 5 people, 7 people every day after work who are coming? These 7 people have to be catered for because once again, I get ubuntu. Hauna motho o tlo tsamayang a sa
Yeah.
ja.
Yeah.
But that's money
That's
leading
money.
to the funeral that
Yes.
also needs food. Gore re kgone re lebohe. Akere the food we have after the funeral is to go leboga for coming and supporting.
Guys, at my funeral, akuzubakho kutya. Ningazi if nize for ukutya, okay? Like, I'm just saying. No, because really,
Put it on
also...
the will, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on your will.
Well, I mean,
Because
this
stress-
is evidence. I mean, we can just play this
yeah,
back.
just play the recording.
Yeah.
I mean, stress, and I like that you bring it up because I always talk about it at home.
Yeah.
And it's always been my biggest problem at home. Uguti, how is it that we are taking money out of our pockets when we need money, in fact, for the funeral
Do
arrangements?
you know how expensive funerals are,
Hey.
guys?
But have
Do
you
you
seen
know?
how much more expensive they've become now that it's COVID?
How?
Babe, the glamour. Funerals now during COVID, you would
But you
actually
see, then,
think.
don't you think the glamour of it is saved with the money that I would be paying every single day for you guys to be able
To come and visit.
So
And
but that's the
flowers
thing,
and whatever
people
is a
haven't done
send
away
off
with.
and
People have not
memorials.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
things like that.
People have
would
not
still
done
say
away with that.
you know what? Families are still coming because remember, we might let's just not call people. People are families coming in to cry with you every day that need to be fed.
Yeah.
So it's those expenses because it's still if you're used to you are just a family of 5, one thing, but now a family now you are 20 every day.
so how do those expenses now help you grieve? Back to the topic. How to deal with
No,
grief.
they're not helping you grieve.
They're
We are
not.
saying
No,
Guti,
but we're
the
saying
loss
that
is
that's
much
adding
greater.
onto that, yeah.
The loss becomes much greater. Now you have not only lost a parent, now you're losing money out of your
Finances.
own pocket.
And that's part of grief. I think grief is so multifaceted that we can't look at it in one way and we can't look at it in one linear way to just say it's the crying element of it. There's so much more, you know, that come into that. And sometimes we are dealt with such double blows
Yeah.
that after grieving or during the grieving of your family member, you lose some family
Especially
members
now.
because there's the drama element in it, right?
Yes.
And you then realize that Rakgadi a se rakgadi, Joe. Rakgadi hang fatele hantle hantle. Rakgadi never fateled malume or never fateled my mom. And then you realize that you're losing more than just the person
A
who's
family
you know how
member
painful it is to lose someone who's still alive.
Yes.
Can
And
we
having
just
to deal
agree,
with that.
Uguti, guys? Loss, grief, whatever it is, it's dark. It's demonic. Imdaka.
Yes.
Can we just agree? Because nothing.
But it's also a passage of life.
Yes, no, we walk through.
Ebumdakeni bayo.
We walk through and we go through it. Hence, then you were saying there's an element of resilience that you get out of that experience. Because if we go back, if it's you know, there's like the processes that are there. There's one person that needs to have their head on straight when everybody else is falling apart. And fortunately or unfortunately for me, I was that person when my grandfather died. I was like, okay, I know, you know your family most. I know they're all going to fall apart. Keep your head straight. I closed his eyes. I said a prayer. I called the nurse. Like, I was just there. I was
Kept it
present.
moving.
I was like, let's move on. But it was only also for me just recently that I was home, and when I walked in, I felt my grandfather. It was like he's gonna come out of the room or from the back door. It has never, and I
Happened.
mean never.
You know-
it was so creepy.
Your story just sort of reminded me of another side to this COVID thing. How about people that are in hospitals that are not allowed to have visitors? That's a form of another loss. Because you're sitting there probably on your deathbed, you are wishing to see. Remember other people, they become They get a sense of hope from seeing a family member.
Yes.
Now they can't. You're not allowed to see them.
Not even just hope. It's how we humans are wired. We function by seeing, touch, smell, our senses.
Yeah.
So our being there revolves around being social and being connected. So now when that sense of connection
Is
is
lost.
taken away from you, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what am I here for?
Yeah.
And there's nothing fulfilling, at least in those stages where a person is able to make contact with you. Even though the hospitals were saying, people are not allowed, but if they can get on a video call or call you, that is like, oh yay, we can still contact with the person, with the, with our family member. But the moment when maybe sometimes people are under ventilators or
Yo,
like oxygen and they
guys.
cannot communicate anymore, the phone has been taken away, and now you literally have to just wait for nurses to
let you
just
know.
what's going on.
Yeah. Maybe
Those
we
are the
need
painful
counseling as a-
elements
as
that
a-
have
as a
happened to
country.
people.
I think
We need what?
Counseling as a country.
I think, and I agree with you with the counseling part. Counseling is very important, whether or not you've got issues.
Oh yes.
Therapy
Yes.
is important, whether or not gumnandi, whether or not bad.
Yes.
Because it gives you a level of balance and a level of awareness. And when I say awareness, it's many times we're not present in our lives.
Yeah.
But
We are taught
living.
to be in survival mode so much
Oh.
that we never see and we're never there. We're never left to be. Right? And we can sit here today and talk about grief all we want, but none of us are ever, they speak of this thing of journaling so much. And journaling can sit there, and yes, that's a form of therapy. That's a form of, of being self-aware. But not everybody is able to do that. Sometimes the ability to speak to a stranger. I mean, like I said, I work on radio, and I hear some of the stories that people call us and tell. And for me, I'm just like, that's just such a close thing to tell someone you don't know. And this was very early in my radio space. Till I realized sometimes to just tell me or tell a stranger your story
Is enough.
Yeah.
You know why I left my psychology job was because a lot of these stories, they become personal. So it was beginning to cross
And
the
you're told,
boundary
and you're
between-
told to not feel, hey?
You're taught to not feel, but there's no way. You are human. You are human. At the end of the day, you're giving counseling to this person. The minute they leave your office, you're thinking, Patong, you cannot detach yourself from that. So to Tepi's point, I get it. We need to normalize therapy. We need to normalize counseling. We need to... Hey guys, I speak to myself. Me, I speak to myself, guys.
More so now, actually, even because we've lost so much. And I mean, even for you, look at your business. Look at what you were trying to do, and it got taken away by people who are alive.
Yeah.
By people, it's it wasn't anything tragic like weather. It was humans,
People.
So that kind of pain that has been inflicted on you and your business, and the loss of money, that is also a loss on its own. And there's some sort of grief that comes with that kind of loss, and we don't deal with it. Are you dealing with it at all?
I think I am. Speaking to my customers about it, keeping it moving. I always have plans. I always have plans. Which, okay, now it's this, now it's this. Now my thing is, Khomoto, it happened. You're not the only one. Lucky for you, you are a small business. I know people are going to kill me for this. Being a small business at this particular time, for me, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning how to operate a business even in the toughest times.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a blessing. So I was like, okay, it happened, Kelly, keep it moving. Find a solution to this, because I'm not going to sit and cry and be like, oh my God, I don't have stock. Oh my God, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the only one. It's teaching me the importance of having insurance.
Yeah.
It's teaching me I didn't know that our government had an insurance for people, for small businesses that don't have insurance. I didn't know. Now I know. So it comes with lessons. It comes with resilience. Bona, guys, resilience, it will always come with grief and loss. Somehow, you have to snap out of it. Don't kill me for saying it. I'm not saying don't feel what you're supposed to be feeling.
Yeah.
Hear me out. I'm saying feel what you're supposed to be feeling. If you feel sad, if you feel stressed, but move.
Yeah.
Don't stay there,
don't-
because
Don't make that
Something about
situation a
grief.
permanent one.
something about grief and pain, if you allow yourself to stay there, you will sink.
I heard a conversation about just handling grief during the week, and the advice there was that a person who's dealing with grief you need to go back into enjoying the small things. It could be a cup of coffee. You enjoy, it's like, okay, I used to enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning, and take those moments as they come. So it's whatever things that it's like, instead of being overwhelmed with the loss and the memories, yes, they will be there, but start just enjoying the small things in life that made you happy. It's whether it's just your favorite TV show. Go back to it. Try by all means. Just find a way to enjoy the small things, and before you know it, you'll literally come out of the misery and the loneliness that you're feeling. Not that doesn't matter, but do anything to also just bring yourself out.
Talk about it. To Tepi's point, strangers, as in sometimes.
Yeah, they have the best ears.
Talk about it. Hairdressers, go to the salon, girl, get your hair did.
A salon used to be a hot spot for.
Oh, konja sagwazi game a salon.
What?
Well,
We're supposed to? Inside here is Penny and
No, but
Betty
a
from the
salon,
salon.
guys, that's where you would find that most women actually sit and talk about hectic stuff. They have hectic conversations, and people actually leave the salon feeling a little lighter, than when they came in.
And also watch what you watch. When I say that, the content you consume, can I go back a little bit? There's this thing they call the ripple effect.
Yes.
If you start thinking positive thoughts, it influences you to think of another and another. Think about it. And think about when's lo. You will think about last week it's the ripple effect.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking about good things,
he's done.
it will have the ripple effect. You'll start thinking about the good things. So even with grief and loss, we've lost the people, we've lost the businesses, we've lost the jobs.
Yeah.
It happens. But don't stay there. Don't stay there. Think of something with, okay, I've lost the job. But at least think UIF. There's somebody who doesn't have UIF. Have a plan with UIF for Kings or
Yes.
Don't think about abantu bazotini. I'm gonna lose my suburban house somewhere. It's okay. You'll start over. You're alive. There's somebody that doesn't have the air that you're breathing right now.
But it's painful.
It is
Yeah,
very.
yeah. I
It's
think
painful
with
for
loss,
Moto.
when
It
you
is,
mentioned
and I
that,
agree.
the starting over of loss and grief, and I mean, like I said, when I had left Y as well, I had to let go of everything. I had to let go of my place, and I had preempted myself. Unfortunately, for some people, more so in these times, it's sudden. You get up and unfortunately you can't do it, and I had preempted it, but it happening also didn't make it easier. Yes, I might have preempted it, paid off all of my debt. I was debt free. Home choice must sip out. It has fucking come through and fucked up my life. And I don't even have a home choice account. But anyway, point is that motherfucker is sitting on my neck. But point is, I make sure that I consolidate all my debts, everything that I have, to start again, to be able to have a fresh mind. And I went back home and I felt. Okay, I cried. So to make sure that I am okay, I'm wrap up. Then that's all I want to do is wrap up. No, we're gonna finish this. We're gonna finish this. So the starting over for me, I had to feel, guys. I had to be. I cried. I cried many days, and I cried many nights because I felt like I was not getting it right. My UIF was there, absolutely, but I cried still because it was
not
ideally not
easy.
where I wanted to be.
Of course.
It's not aligned with your plans.
It's not aligned.
Would you allow me then to say, Uguti, when we do not deal with grief or loss, it has destructive results such as the looting.
Yes.
In the sense that
Okay, wait,
we
you
feel
almost lost me there.
I'm going there.
Okay.
We feel that we have been robbed. I know Guti, now people are saying Guti, we want Jacob Zuma to come out. They are using that as an excuse. But over and above that, people are also saying Guti, but this thing has been there before Jacob Zuma went into jail. Like, we feel that we've been robbed. We feel that we've been done wronged in so many ways. We have not dealt with it in the way, maybe that, I don't know politics, but we have maybe not taken the steps, I would say, then voting against this party that makes you feel otherwise.
You know-
and now it is resulting.
In
the
this
result.
chaos.
It's resulting in this
This
in
chaos.
destructiveness.
You know, to your point, Nolu, I have a neighbor who till this day, they don't know where their child died, where their bones are, because of what had happened to us as black South Africans in the country. A lot of us are still grieving from that. Some families are grieving apartheid.
Okay.
Some people are still grieving. Some people have not dealt with it. Some
And the
people,
TRC
it wasn't
hearings
enough.
weren't of
It's like the
weren't
Zondo
to
Commission.
supply.
Oh,
Yeah, but-
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not enough. So yes, we need. It does have. I feel like Lento Ishoy, there is a bit of it.
Our historical trauma.
Our
Okay.
historical trauma.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
are a
I
very
think-
Hence, I say,
traumatized
as a
nation.
country, we need therapy.
Yeah, so you know, like that guy who used to teach maths, there needs to be someone on SABC1 who gives us all a holistic counseling. Yes.
Hey, Baba.
But guys,
Man, we
let's
need-
wrap it up because I've been told by everybody, including Mama English, to wrap up. So, yeah, my last
Closing-
words for
okay.
me is grieve. Be,
Take it one day at a time.
and yes, at the end of the day, you have to stand up, you have to dust yourself up, and you have to move. But personally, for me, I believe in feeling. When you feel it, allow it.
Yeah.
And you
Itumele
have
go
to, yes,
utlwa.
and you have to let it go and move. No, no.
Agreed. Agreed.
Me, I'm saying when you're in that space, kupa le content o e shebang, it has an influence on your
Limited,
mental
yeah.
health.
Yeah.
The music, imagine you are hating and you're listening to Celine Dion Mudimu. That's what's causing the hate. We understand. Listen to Amapiano, you know,
Something
light,
more,
something
yeah,
light.
yeah.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Like, yabon.
Goes
Take care of yourself.
I think we just need to be patient with one another.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's not, and I think we everyone is going through it just some way or another. It may not be by yourself. It might be someone you love. It's someone you stay with, and we just need to have compassion.
Absolutely.
Compassion is the biggest thing that
Yeah.
will just take us
And
through
empathy.
right now.
Yeah.
And empathy, yes.
Yeah. That's how we wrap it up. Ladies, gentlemen, if you've ever lost anyone in your life, kuzokanya. I'm
sorry for
you know,
chewing.
all you really
Oh,
need to do
kuzokanya.
is be able to
Yeah.
move on, and is to be able to deal. So if you've lost someone in this time, may their beautiful souls rest in peace. If you've lost a business, kusazokanya.
Ngithenge negrinjo. Nizoba right.
That's a blessing.
No, no one yet.
It's a coping mechanism.
It's been a great one, guys. This has been on the table.
Wanya
Goodbye.
Tsotsi.